All right, let's move on to the next section of today's podcast. Something that I've been noticing or wrestling with, I don't know if it's wrestling with, but something that I've been thinking about is it seems like in our culture today, in our community, in our society, it seems like experts, people who can claim to be experts, it kind of seems like their power is being taken away. To me, it kind of feels like there's no real need for experts in today's society. And I think there's nuance to that. I don't know. It kind of seems like we're moving away from experts. Again, sticking to my script because I said I need to stick to my script. So are we moving from the age of experts? Are we now in a time where experts aren't necessarily the standard anymore? I think because of technology and the access of information, more and more people are able to critique and criticize what so-called experts say. And I believe this is happening in many fields of our human experience. And I'm referencing the 7 mountains. I can talk about that another time, but the areas are economy, government, family, religion, media, education, arts. So it's happening, I believe, in every field around us. Like, we question what happens in the government. We question how things are done with the economy, family, religion, media, education, everything. At some point in time, you had to be an expert to speak or communicate or like really give your opinion and actually be heard. I think there's a difference. I think a lot of time people have been talking for a long time, but there was only attention or the opportunity to be listened to if you were an expert, and I think that time is changing. Like, because of social media, because of the internet, there's so many people who have the opportunity to push back against experts or leading, like, thought leaders and stuff like that. Everybody has the option and the opportunity to be a thought leader in some regard or in some way or another. And I think it's really, really interesting that we are in that kind of time. And honestly, to me, it appears that people are more interested in fellow journeyers more than so-called experts. So they're actually more interested in people who are like regular people that they can relate to, who may be a couple of steps ahead of them. They're more interested in just people being authentic. So this idea of being an expert or being, say, like having a PhD in this or that or whatever, it's not as appealing, I think, to some people anymore. Like, if you're interested in traveling, you don't need, or like survival stuff or whatever, you don't need somebody like what's that guy's name? Bear Grylls. You don't need people like that anymore. And I understand that they were on those huge platforms like, cable TV or public TV or whatever. Like, those are interesting, but you can also find your favorite survivalist or whatever on YouTube. And that makes it feel more realistic to you or close to you, because in those situations, people show you like, oh, this is what I've been doing. This is my experience, and da-da-da. And they can give you this more realistic and tangible experience. And I think more and more people are becoming interested in that and looking for that. Honestly, the idea of being someone who knows everything is a major turnoff in the time we're in. I don't know, I don't think people like know-it-alls. For certain stuff, I think people are interested and they want to hear. But I think because of a lot of bad experiences with know-it-alls and with experts, people are becoming more cynical, more critical. And again, they have the opportunity to question. They have the opportunity to do research. They have the opportunity to find out if you're really telling the truth, if you really are an expert in what you're doing. And again, some people don't care. they don't care. Like, they're more interested in making connections. They are more interested in the authenticity, and they're more interested in how they can use whatever you're sharing to benefit them. And I mean, again, this is my opinion. This is my observation. So let me know what you think. But in this, I'm just saying, in this, if people want less experts and more journeyers, people who they can walk beside, or somebody they can reach out to and ask questions, like, more of a peer or a contemporary instead of like a master at something. Like, it seems like people are more interested in peers and contemporaries and people they can work along with. If people want less experts and more journeyers, that requires more people to practice in public. So that means that kind of requires more of us to be fellow journeyers in this. And I mean, that's what I'm trying to do with Do Make Something, be a Black man that's trying to do this work to be beneficial and share and show my journey of managing mental health and doing the work to become better for my community too. Like, I'm not an expert. I'm not. Like, I have flaws. I have lots of things that I'm still learning and trying to figure out. But I know for me, it's always beneficial to have a brother to walk with, to ask questions with, to go through challenges with, and to figure out things together. Like, that camaraderie and that partnership, that community is so valuable and helpful. Since this idea of experts, or this demand for experts, is kind of changing, it requires more people to just be people. I think people are really, really interested, if they're being honest, I think people are really, really interested in people just being authentic and being themselves. And it challenges the system and the old paradigm that we've been used to, that this person is, again, the expert or the master or like whatever in this thing. And again, I understand there's certain professions that require that. I do want an expert if I'm going to the hospital. I do want an expert if they're, I don't know, working on my car or something like that. I want somebody that's skilled, somebody that's farther along than I am. But in some other things, not so much, because again, I can do my own research. I can look for things and I can try things too. And my whole point is, like, with it, I think it requires us to step out into the spotlight with our scripts in hand, and at the same time be willing to improv when necessary. So we have a script that we're following. We're doing our best to work it out, but we're also making space to be creative. We're also making space to be messy with the things that we're doing. This doesn't mean that truth and facts become relative, though. Not necessarily. It just, I'll say this as a Christian, as a believer, it makes it even more challenging for Christians and believers of the Most High with this demand to be people and to be honest and to be transparent and to be authentic and to be a fellow journeyer in this life. It becomes challenging since we believe and hold on to a faith that stands confidently as the way. I think what it does mean, though, is we have to be willing to be honest that we struggle and wrestle with the truth claims that have been presented to us by Jesus, by what we see in the scriptures and stuff like that. We got to wrestle with that. We got to be honest about it, that we don't know everything and that we're wrestling with things too. I don't think it's necessary that we present ourselves as experts. We don't have to present ourselves as, but we do have to present ourselves as humans, choosing to share what good news we've found in hopes of helping others to get to a better place. Again, that's as Christians or believers. I think it's for anybody. If you have any belief or faith and you want to share it, or good ideas. Like, for me, I just want to share good ideas and good thinking that can benefit brothers and help our community. So yeah, it isn't only for faith, but for everything in our lives: relationships, finances, health, etc. The major narrative that's been forced upon us for decades and centuries, particularly as Black men and other minorities, is being shaken, attacked, and torn down. What I mean by that is white supremacy. Like, we've been told a certain way to do things, a certain way to live, and we're still being taught it. We're still being forced that, like, this is the perfect way to do a relationship, or this is the perfect way to do that, or whatever. And honestly, I do believe God has a right way, a most beneficial way for our good and for His glory. And I think all that's like explained in scripture and stuff like that. I do believe that. But a lot of what we've been shown in media, or a lot of what we've been shown in culture, and a lot of traditions and things that we've been holding on to, trying to be traditional this, traditional that, or whatever, I think that's stuff we need to challenge. And I think that's the season that we're in. We're challenging those things, pushing back on those things. We need to do that. We need to be honest about where we are. And I think even if we do it in private and kind of like in a small group or whatever, we should be transparent with our journey. I mentioned in a couple of episodes the importance of having a community, or the importance of having somebody to talk to. As a Black man, you need that, whether it's your best friend, whether it's a counselor, whether it is a spiritual leader, whatever. You need somebody to talk to and to express where you are and to have conversations about that you're struggling with this, you're struggling with that, whatever it may be, because we need to work on communicating and expressing ourselves, and we need to work on managing our mental health and our emotional health. And we can't do that by ourselves. And the thing about it is, like, we can take advice from people who are further along than us. Like, I do that, whether it's listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos or reading books and things like that. But the books that matter the most to me, or that are the most impactful to me, is people who, again, aren't claiming to be experts, but they're just willing. They're just willing to share their journey. They're willing to share that they've had these pitfalls, that they've gotten these scars, that they've had these issues. Those in like the personal development space and stuff like that, those are the books that I connect with the most. To be like, okay, this person is human like me. This person has issues just like me. And this is some stuff that they would suggest that would benefit me. Fellow journeyers are so much more, I would say, can be so much more beneficial and so much more constructive than just listening to somebody like pontificate or like say, yeah, this is the best way to do it or whatever. And again, like I mentioned, I think there's nuance there, because there's certain stuff like I would want expert doctors to teach other doctors how to be expert doctors. Yes. Or even like mechanics. But even with that, like say mechanics, I'm sure there's a methodology to stuff, but if there's a way that you can improve that methodology to better serve the customer or better fix a problem, yeah, you still have to push back and kind of challenge the expert. Like we all have the opportunity to grow and the opportunity to share what we know. And we need to start doing that more, especially as Black men in our community, and really continue to focus on the fact that we need to be beneficial. We need to be constructive. Like our community is in a place where things need to get better. And it really starts with us. It really starts with us. And so, I mean, just a thought, really thinking about that, like how can we as individuals come together and share our journeys as Black men, share our journeys and encourage one another and try to help one another. I'm not saying that anybody's perfect or anybody's an expert, but having the same common goal of growing and becoming better, becoming beneficial for our community, whether that is how we manage our money, how we manage our profession or whatever. How can we improve in our communication skills? And for me, with Do Make Something, it's how can we work on our mental and emotional health using creativity so that we can become beneficial, so that we can be in a better place, a better mindset, so that we can grow and serve those around us. Because again, our thoughts impact our beliefs and our beliefs impact our behaviors. So it's important that we get our thoughts right, that we get our mental right. That's it. Like we gotta, you don't necessarily need experts, but we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. We need to discuss it, and we need to wrestle with it, because there are a lot of old thoughts, a lot of paradigms, a lot of traditions that we're holding on to and fighting for, that we really have to ask and challenge. Is this really helping us? Is this helping us to be better men? Is this really helping us to be beneficial? Is this really helping us to be healthy? I think if we take some time to really talk about it, we might notice that it's not. But that requires us to, do work. It requires us to be honest. It requires us to struggle in that. But that's okay. If we are coming together, if we're being fellow journeyers, and we're all going in the same direction, we won't be alone. We won't be alone.